The Thanksgiving turkey sat right in the middle of my parents' huge dining table in their big house in Charleston. The table was shiny and dark brown, and it was so long that it could fit many people around it. The turkey was fresh from the oven. Steam curled up from it and floated toward the bright crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling. The chandelier sparkled like a bunch of tiny stars. Everything looked perfect, but the room did not feel warm or happy. It felt cold. No one was talking about being thankful. No one was smiling kindly. Instead, they were talking about me. I am 32 years old. And in my family, that means I am a disappointment. My father sat at the head of the table. His name is Reginald Hawke, and he is the CEO of Hawke Banking Group. He always sits straight. He always looks serious. Even at Thanksgiving, he looks like he is leading a big meeting. He cleared his throat loudly. 32 years old, he said, cutting into the turkey with a sharp knife. And still no real job. His voice was strong and hard, like a hammer hitting a nail. My mother sat beside him. She wore a beautiful dress and shiny diamond jewelry. She gently touched her bracelet and shook her head. I suppose this is what happens when you let her study software engineering instead of finance, she said. We should have guided her better. She smiled a tight smile, but it was not kind. At least Ophelia makes us proud, she added. My sister Ophelia sat across from me. She looked perfect, like always. Her hair was neat. Her blazer was stylish. She looked like she belonged on the cover of a business magazine. I'm executive vice president at 34, she said with a little smile. Youngest female executive in Hawke history. She lifted her glass slightly, like she was celebrating herself. I looked down at my phone under the table. A new message had just appeared. Final signatures complete. Ownership transfer effective 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I felt my heart beat slowly and calmly. Actually, I started to speak. But Ophelia quickly talked over me. You know, Thalassa, she said sweetly. There's still an opening in marketing. I could put in a good word for you. Of course, you might need to upgrade your wardrobe. Her eyes slowly moved from my black sweater to my simple pants. If she knew how much they cost, she might have been surprised. But I did not say anything about that. I'm fine, thanks, I said quietly. Another message appeared on my phone. Asian markets reacting. Projections exceed forecast. Fine indeed. My father cut another large piece of turkey. Living in that tiny apartment, he said. Always glued to a laptop. That's not fine. That's wasting your life. Dorian, Ophelia's husband, leaned back in his chair. He is the CFO of Hawke Banking. He likes to think he is very smart. I read an article, he said, smiling a little, about millennials calling themselves founders when they're really unemployed. I looked at him calmly. Failures, I said. He blinked quickly. Well, I wouldn't say failures. Just unrealistic. My phone buzzed again. Press release queued. Legal team on standby. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 2:55 p.m. 5 minutes. My father kept talking. You had every advantage, he said. Private schools. Ivy League education. A guaranteed job at Hawke Banking. And you threw it all away to play with computers. Ophelia nodded slowly. Real business needs discipline, she said. Structure. Not everyone is cut out for it. My mother leaned forward kindly. Tell us, dear, she said softly. What do you even do all day? Surely there's a proper computer job somewhere. Before I could answer, a phone buzzed loudly. Dorian looked down at his screen. Then my father's phone buzzed. Then Ophelia's. Soon, every phone at the table was making noise. Dorian stared at his screen. His face suddenly lost its color. What the? He whispered. The shares. I asked gently. He looked up at me. They're up 40%, he said. In 1 minute. That's impossible. My father stopped cutting the turkey. How would you know that? He asked sharply. I slowly placed my phone on the table. The same way I know you'll be getting calls from your banks about unusual trading activity, I said. And in about 30 seconds, the press release will go live. Right on time, the phones began ringing. Not buzzing. Ringing. Ophelia's hands shook as she answered hers. This must be a mistake, she said. A system glitch. No glitch, I said calmly as I stood up from my chair. Just the market reacting to Aurora Capital acquiring Hawke Banking Group. The knife slipped from my father's hand and clattered loudly onto the plate. Aurora Capital, he whispered. Yes, I said. The tech company you've all dismissed for years. Ophelia stared at me. The secret CEO, she said slowly. Me, I answered. Silence filled the room. Then phones started ringing again. Board members. Lawyers. Reporters. Dorian shook his head. That's not possible. I would have seen the filings. Would you? I asked softly. The same way you saw the tech startups buying your suppliers? The same way you saw the shell companies investing in your systems. I slid my tablet across the table. The headline glowed brightly on the screen. Aurora Capital acquires Hawke Banking Group. CEO Thalassa Hawke to speak at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No one spoke. Breaking news alerts appeared on every screen. Tech giant expands into financial services. Hawke stock soars. Surprise acquisition shocks market. My father looked smaller somehow. Thalassa, he said quietly. What have you done? I smiled gently. I did exactly what you always wanted, I said. I went into the family business. No one touched the turkey anymore. The steam had disappeared. Ophelia pushed her chair back and stood up. I have contracts, she said. Guarantees. I'm executive vice president. At Hawke Banking, I corrected. Aurora Capital has a different system. Leadership is based on skill, not family name. You're firing your own sister? My mother asked in shock. I'm improving governance, I said. Something the company needed. Dorian was typing quickly on his laptop. The digital projects, the cloud upgrades, the consultants, they're all Aurora subsidiaries. Yes, I said. While you were laughing at my computer obsession, I was building partnerships. Investing. Planning. The sound of a helicopter grew louder outside. Everyone turned toward the large windows. A sleek black helicopter appeared in the sky, with a silver Aurora logo shining on its side. That's for me, I said calmly. But the money, my father asked weakly. Where did you get the money to buy us? I looked at him kindly. Remember the app one built in college? I asked. The one you said was a waste of time? He blinked. I sold it for hundreds of millions of dollars, I said. That was only the beginning. My mother slowly sat back in her chair. All those times we tried to find you a proper job, she whispered. I had a proper job, I said gently. I was building a global tech company. I just didn't talk about it at dinner. The helicopter shadow moved across the table. The napkins were messy now. Phones were everywhere. The beautiful table setting was ruined. My phone rang again. Miss Hawke, a voice said on speaker, CNBC is ready for your live interview. We'll depart in 15 minutes. I'll be there, I replied. I looked around the table one more time. My father was staring at the headline. Ophelia looked confused and shaken. Dorian kept scrolling through financial numbers. For the first time in my life, no one was judging me. No one was laughing at me. No one was telling me I was wasting my life. They were finally quiet. I never wanted to embarrass you, I said softly. I just wanted to build something meaningful. The helicopter got louder. I learned something, I continued. Success doesn't always look like what you expect. Sometimes it looks like a small apartment and a laptop. Sometimes it looks quiet. My father looked at me. You could have told us, he said. Would you have listened? I asked gently. He did not answer. I picked up my coat. I'm not your little girl who failed, I said kindly. I'm your daughter who succeeded differently. The turkey sat cold and untouched in the middle of the table. The crystal chandelier still sparkled above us. But everything had changed. I walked toward the door as the helicopter landed outside. Before stepping out, I turned back one last time. I didn't destroy the family business, I said. I saved it. Then I stepped outside into the bright afternoon light. The wind from the helicopter blew through my hair as I walked forward. For years, they thought I was behind. They thought I was lost. They thought I was small. But I was building something bigger than they ever imagined. And now everyone will see it. Not because I wanted to prove them wrong, but because I had always known who I was. And I never needed their permission to succeed. My executive team was about to arrive with contracts, press papers, and important documents. Those papers would end my family's control of Hawke Company and start a new future. A future that used technology, smart data, and new ideas instead of old habits. Thalassa, my father said at last. His voice sounded small and shaky, almost like he was begging. We only wanted what was best for you. All those times we pushed you toward real business. This is real business, Dad, I said calmly. I turned my phone so he could see the screen. Bright news headlines flashed again and again. The problem is that you can't see it. That's why Hawke needs new leadership. Outside, a loud helicopter began to land on the big front lawn. The sound of its spinning blades filled the air. Inside the house, it felt like something very old was breaking apart. Ophelia stopped pacing back and forth. She always tried to look calm and perfect, but now her face looked worried and cracked, like glass about to shatter. But what about our family's legacy? She asked. What about everything we've built? You mean everything our great-grandfather built? I asked gently as I stood up from my chair. You've just been riding on his hard work. While the company kept falling behind and ignoring every big change in technology for the last 10 years. The helicopter slowly touched the ground. The strong wind from its blades shook the wine inside the crystal glasses on the table. Napkins flew across the white tablecloth. The Thanksgiving dinner we had worked so hard to prepare was now messy and forgotten. Through the tall windows, I saw my executive team step out of the helicopter. They wore neat black coats and carried tablets in their hands. On those tablets were digital contracts ready to be signed. They were the future, and they were walking up my parents' marble steps. Your severance packages are very generous, I added in a steady voice, even though the helicopter was still loud. More generous than you deserve, considering how the company has been doing. The doorbell rang. The sound was clear and sharp in the heavy silence. My mother stood up right away. For many years, she had always answered the door. It was part of her perfect manners. But she stopped halfway to the door. She suddenly realized she did not know her place anymore. I'll get it, I said. My voice was calm but strong. After all, they work for me. Sometimes revenge does not come with turkey and pumpkin pie. Sometimes it comes in a helicopter with business papers and a new reality. They used to call me unemployed when I was 32. Now I was the one employing them. The Thanksgiving feast grew cold as my team quickly turned the dining room into a temporary office. Alicia spread out documents across one end of the long wooden table. Laptops opened. Tablets lit up. Phones buzzed with messages. My family sat at the other end of the table, quiet and pale. They watched their empire slowly disappear, like gravy turning hard and cold in its silver bowl. The press conference is ready for 5 o'clock, Alicia said, looking at her tablet. News coverage is everywhere. CNBC, Bloomberg, Forbes. Experts are calling this the business deal of the decade. My father's hands shook as he looked at the papers in front of him. These dates, these company names. You've been planning this for years. Since the day you told me I was wasting my life playing computer games, I said evenly. I decided to treat it like a long-term investment. Ophelia stared at her phone in shock. Hawke's stock price is going up, she whispered. But all those board meetings, she said quickly. All those talks about protecting our traditional values and keeping things the same. I was there, I interrupted softly. Sitting quietly in the corner. You thought I was just the IT consultant. It's amazing what people say when they think you don't matter. Dorian slowly lifted his head from his laptop. The calm, confident look he always wore as chief financial officer was gone. The digital transformation budget we approved last quarter, he said slowly. The one I said was too expensive. Yes, I said with a small smile. That money helped Aurora Capital buy Hawke. You helped pay for your own takeover. My mother's eyes moved quickly from face to face. She looked scared, like someone trapped in a room with no door. Thalassa, dear, she said sweetly, though her voice shook. Surely we can work something out. We already did, I replied. You just didn't read the fine print. Darling, she tried again, trying to sound charming. Let's talk about this as a family. Maybe in the living room over coffee. The Hendersons are coming for dessert. They would love to hear about your success. The Hendersons? I raised my eyebrow. You mean the private equity firm that has been trying to buy Hawke? They can talk to Aurora Capital's investor relations team. Before anyone could speak, Alicia stepped forward. Her heels made clicking sounds on the polished wooden floor. Mrs. Hawke, she said clearly, the transition team is ready. The new company structure has been finalized. Ophelia quickly stood up and tried to fix her wrinkled blazer. As executive vice president, I should be part of these discussions. Actually, I said calmly, your position has been eliminated. Eliminated? She gasped. You can't fire me. I'm your sister. That is exactly why you need to go, I replied. This company will run on skill and hard work, not family names. My father jumped to his feet. His chair scraped loudly across the floor. Now listen here, Thalassa. I built this company into an outdated company that has been losing customers and money for 5 years. I finished. Would you like to see the real numbers? The ones Dorian kept hidden from the board. Dorian's face turned pale. You can't prove that. Actually, I said, touching my tablet. The large wall screens in the dining room lit up. Bright charts and numbers filled the room. They showed hidden losses, fake valuations, and failed projects covered up with clever accounting tricks. The room became very quiet. The only sound was the soft hum of laptops. Outside, news vans rolled into the neighborhood. Satellite dishes rose into the air like metal flowers. The press wants a statement, Alicia said. They're asking how someone they called Unemployed managed to take over her own family's company. Tell them it's about vision, I answered. It's about seeing the future while others are stuck in the past. My mother wiped her eyes with her special napkin. All those holiday dinners when we worried about you. They were planning meetings for me, I said gently. Every time you criticized me, every time you doubted me, you gave me information. You showed me exactly what needed to change. Breaking news appeared on every screen. Aurora Capital reveals family connection in bold Thanksgiving takeover. Wall Street was shocked. Hawke shares hit record high. Your grandfather started this company, my father said weakly. And I'm saving it, I replied firmly. I'm saving it from old thinking and from people who believe they deserve power just because of their last name. Alicia walked back over with her tablet. The board is waiting for your video call. They want to discuss the timeline for merging the companies. Of course, I said, standing up and straightening my black sweater. It's time to introduce the new era of Hawke. Wait, Ophelia said suddenly. Her voice cracked. What about us? What about our future? I looked at her calmly. The helicopter outside was now flying away, its sound growing softer and softer. That depends, I said gently, on whether you can live in a world where your last name does not give you power. In this new world, you will have to earn your place. My family sat there quietly, surrounded by cold turkey, messy napkins, and glowing screens. The old world was ending, and the new one had already begun.